Today I want to talk a little bit about the 4 principles into investing in commercial real estate. Now there's more principles, but I'm going to cover these 4 just to get the base grounds of them. So let's start. The first one I want to talk about is capitalization rate, which is short for cap rate. Now capitalization rate, cap rate is the meaning of if I pay cash for a commercial building, how much on the return I'll get by paying cash. So let's say if you got $1 million building and it's bringing out $100,000 NOI, you just take the $100,000 divided by $1 million and you'll be at a 10% cap rate. And that will be the return on your money. So capitalization rate, or cap rate for short, is just meaning, okay, if I pay cash for a building, how much will my return be if I pay full cash for it? That's pretty much a cap rate. Now, the second one, let's go into gross rent multiplier. Now, what is gross rent multiplier? Gross rent multiplier is basically you take the asking price divided by the rents, and that will give you a number of gross rent multiplier. Now, if it's a low number, let's say if it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you're typically going to be in the Class C properties, maybe B minus properties. But if it's a higher ones, you'll be in more of the desirable areas. So let's say if you got a 12, a 13, or 14 gross rent multiplier, you'll be in more of the better locations. So the higher the gross rent multiplier is, the better the locations. The lower the gross rent multiplier is, the worse of the locations. And all you do to get this gross rent multiplier is you just take the asking price divided by the rents. And that will give you a number of gross rent multiplier. Now, number 3. Debt coverage ratio. What is debt coverage ratio? Well, debt coverage ratio is for the banks. The banks want to make sure, and they use a number to make sure, okay, after all your expenses and you have an NOI, can you pay your mortgage payment based on the income that's coming in? So let's say if you have an NOI, and then if you minus your debt service, and if that debt service, basically what the mortgage is going to use, they're going to use the 1.25%. That's typical number. They use a 1.25%, and if you're at that number or higher, then this property qualifies for the mortgage to get a loan on this property as the debt. So debt coverage ratio is just 1.25. If you're at 1.25 or higher, then you can get that property with debt. Okay, now number 4 is cash on cash return. What is cash on cash return, meaning for short for COC? Cash on cash return is basically what would I be making a year divided by the investment. So let's say if you was making $45,000 a year, and you divide that by, let's say if you're in whole investment after you pay acquisition, closing costs, and so forth, is around 500-some thousand. If you divide both of those, you'll be looking at around a 9 cap, 8-point-something cap. So you'll be looking at that typical number. That's the cash on cash. So basically the cash on cash is, okay, what would I make a year and divided by the investment? So if I'm making 60, but I invested into this building at 600,000, you just take them, you divide those numbers, and that'll give you a percentage, and that'll be your cash on cash return. Now, all of these are critical for commercial real estate, because you want to know if you're raising capital, you want to at least be at 8% or higher on the cash on cash to have the investors be intrigued to your deal. 8% or higher is what we like to be at. Debt coverage ratio, you want to be at 1.25 on a debt coverage ratio to get debt for the apartment building that you're going to be purchasing. Gross rent multiplier, you want that to be lower if you're looking at Class C properties. So you typically want to be in the 5s or the 6s or 7s as a gross rent multiplier. The lower, the better, because your cash flow will be better. Capitalization rate. Capitalization rate, typically we like to be at a 7.25 or 8 cap in today's market, but that really won't mean anything if you have a full renovation. The cap rate really doesn't mean anything. And also with the cap rate as well, is that you can also ask the broker kind of what buildings are traded for in this typical area, because investors are buying buildings at a 7 cap, 7.25, an 8 cap, or a 9 cap. Then typically that might be that same cap rate for that building that you're looking to purchase. So you just kind of want to see what, you know, the cap rates are actually going for in that area, and it can kind of give you an understanding, okay, well, maybe the value of the building is worth this much based on the cap rate. So I hope that this helped, but you can use this in commercial real estate. I use it all the time to know what the gross rent multiplier is, debt coverage ratio, cash on cash, and the capitalization rate to give me a good number of what I can purchase this building for. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope that helps. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.